Page 4, the shepherd's hay. In this lesson, we're covering endings, and I'll get to that a little later in the lesson. Let's just cover, I'm going to go through the routine I normally go through to learn a new piece of music. On the previous page, they give you some notes and tells you go figure out the name or whatever. I assume you know the names of all the notes in the piece, in this shepherd's hay. You know the names of these notes, and you know them instantly. If you don't, I encourage you to go back. You're not ready to go on yet. Please go back and drill yourself on the names of the notes. It's kind of important, and I can't really explain why it's important right now, but it's important. So I look it over. I see it is 4 lines long. However, it's longer because of the endings, but I'll talk about that later. We only have about 4 lines of music to learn, is what I'm after. Treble and bass clef, we have 1 sharp in the key signature. We're in the key of G major, so make sure you can do the G major scale, at least 1 octave up and down. Just know the scale, be able to play the scale. It will help you do everything I say in the video, the accents and the wrists and the whole bit. 4/4 time signature, I see a bunch of 1/8 notes and quarter notes and half notes. Think we can handle that. I'm going to take it 1 hand at a time to make sure I understand what each hand is doing, and then I'll try and put the hands together. So the right hand, you're starting 3rd finger here, and you're not moving around in this piece. This is the only place your hand's going to be. You don't need any other finger numbers. Please don't be reading finger numbers. Read the notes. You need to know and remember which key each finger is on. Just one of those things we work on. So just once you know where the hand goes, you just use whichever finger's on that note. 1 and 2 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1, 3 and 4 and. You get it? Okay, let's go to the 2nd line, 2nd measure. Here, 1 and 2 and 3 and rest. Make sure you lift up for that 8th rest. That's on beat 4. 4 and 2 and 3 and 4. I trust you understand dotted rhythms there in the 2nd line, last measure. And 3 and 4 and. Just briefly, 2nd line, last measure. On beat 3, there's a C. Quarter note gets a count. The dot comes on beat 4 because the quarter note takes up beat 3. Nothing else can happen in beat 3. The quarter note's got the whole thing. So the dot comes on beat 4, and the dot is like an 8th note here. It gets half the value of the note, so a quarter note, half of that is an 8th note. It's like you have a quarter note and an 8th note, you tie them together. So the dot comes on beat 4. It's the first part of 4, and then the 8th note after that comes on the end of 4. So it's 3 and 4 and, or 3 and dot and. That's dotted rhythms for you. They all work the same way if you understand. They can figure out the note and the dot. The dot gets half the value of the note. Whatever. Let's go to the left hand, see what we got going. We're here, G and a D. Now put your hand here. You're not moving around. You don't need any other finger numbers. Please don't be reading finger numbers. And it's here. D. Now, just all quarter notes, and all I'm doing is just gently rotating the arm, which rotates the hand, and I'm just walking on the piano. The weight is on one side and then the other, and then the other's here. I'm just walking. It's a real little motion. I exaggerate it so you can see it better in the camera, but it's really a little motion. You don't need a lot of motion to walk. Let's go 2nd line, 2nd measure. It's here, and here, G and B together. That's just 1 count. Again, 4, and then going on. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you have the G, the 1 chord, and the 5 7Ds. You want to get where you can do this maneuver without looking at the keyboard. So when you see these chords like this in music, you're thinking it like one thing. It's just, oh, I know what that is. It's this. You're not trying to figure out, okay, I got to play 3 notes at the same time. Ugh. Just think of it as one thing and just lower the whole hand down. Try and get the notes down at the same time. I don't, but maybe you can. Put the heads together. Now, when I first put the heads together, this is usually a mess. I hesitate all over. I don't care. I just want to know which fingers and the hands are working together. So at the beginning, we're here in G position, and you're here, and then here, and then here, and then here, and then here. So I'm just working it out slowly to try and get a feel for the hands working together. Then I go back through it for weeks or months or whatever it takes and slowly work out any hesitations. So it is a steady beat throughout. We need a steady pulse from beginning to end. No hesitations. And once I can do that, then I go back and I think about the articulation. And that's like how you express the note. They don't give a whole lot at the beginning. There's nothing. I suggest you go ahead and connect it. But we can put in the musical sentences. And that is, in this piece, it's like every 2 measures. It's a musical thought. It's like one thought. And then another one. It's another thought. Another sentence. Well, I'm just going to lift up between the sentences. It's like taking a breath. Huh? Lift up, lift up, lift up. Just lift up between the phrases, between the sentences. And the left hand, they don't give anything. It's up to you. You can connect them. If I do connect them, when I go from the second measure to the third measure, I'm going to lift up here for the phrasing, but I'm not lifting up here. I'm connecting that. So again, I'm lifting up in the right hand for the phrasing, but I'm connecting the left hand. We got to learn to do different things in the hands at the same time. Or you could disconnect the notes on the left hand. It doesn't say anything. So it's your choice. That's interpretation. For this lesson, I'm going to go ahead and connect the left hand because I want to practice connecting the left hand and lifting up in the right. It gives me a chance. Now, on the second line, last measure, you get staccatos. I'm flexing at the wrist, and I'm on the key, and I'm bouncing off. Boom, here. Like so. They give an accent mark. This is the second line, last measure. They even labeled it accent. It's a little sideways arrow. For piano, an accent just simply means play it a little louder. Give it a little extra oomph, a little more weight. A piano can't do a true accent, but we do the best we can. We just play a little louder. Just a little more weight. And once I have an idea of the articulation, then I go back and I add the dynamics. P at the beginning. For piano, it's soft. That's the melody. Whatever you think soft is. We want to hear the melody. So you keep this. Can you play this really light? See, we want to hear the melody. If you play them both the same, you lose the melody. It's ugh. So try and play the left hand light, and the right hand a little heavier. But the right hand has to be soft. And then in the second line, going into the last measure, it's an F for forte. It's loud. That makes the accented note a very loud note. The accent takes it up a notch from wherever you're at. So, and that's the right hand. The left hand, you can be a little louder, but keep it in the background. We want to hear the melody. And then the last line, you go back to soft like you were at the beginning. Okay. Now, speed, allegro, is quick, fast. Some people say happy. To me, I can be quick without being happy, so I just say quick or fast. How fast? I don't know. It's like how soft is soft. To you, what is fast? Those eighth notes have to be even and controlled. So how fast can you play those accurately? And that's going to be your fast. Don't go faster than that. That's my fast. Your fast can be a different speed. It's okay. Be accurate. Now let's talk about these endings they've got in the second line. You see, a lot of times in music, what we've done so far, you simply start at the beginning of the piece and you play through it to the end. You might have a repeat sign that sends you back and do it again. That's fine. No big deal. Well, we don't always do that. Sometimes we go every which direction, and I call that the road map. So I say, okay, what's the road map for this? And this is one of the last things I figure out. Where am I going when? That's what endings do. They're marked 1 and 2, and there could be any number of endings, and they can combine endings, and it's fun figuring it out sometimes. The simplest is simply 1 and 2. That's what they have here. This will give us a chance to sort of learn what they're about. When you're playing it the first time, start at the beginning, you'll play the first ending. That's the first measure of the second line. There's a repeat sign there that sends you back to the beginning. When you play it the second time, you play the first line the second time, and you get to the second line, you skip the first ending. You played it once, that's it. You only play it for what the number is. You jump over to the second ending, and you play that and keep going. So really, it says it's 4 lines long, but it's actually more like 5 lines long, because we've repeated the first line again, basically. So when I get to the first ending, it's here in the second line. Then I repeat. Well, in the second time I play it, let's go to the last measure of the first line. This is the second time I'm here. Go to the second ending. And then go on. That's it. It's a way for the printers to save paper, save space. The composers may do it so they don't have to write all that stuff out again. Different reasons for doing it. They could have just written out the line, written out the whole thing without the endings. But a lot of music does this. And you'll find sometimes endings, when you have to repeat or something, you're repeating back several pages to get to where you're going. It's fun figuring it out sometimes. But we'll always look at the road map and understand where you're going. The beat or the pulse has to be a steady beat or pulse all the way through, whether you're repeating or what you're doing. There's exceptions to that. We'll get to those later. Now when you start playing it, this is out and you get into it. 1, 2, 3. Remember the natural accents? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. The natural accents, I exaggerate them so you can hear them better, but you just want to feel these. And it's important to kind of feel it and get it going in your head before you play the first note. So when you start playing the first note, you're actually just writing the pulse. You have a pulse going in, or beat in your head, one, however fast you can just sing it. And then when you're ready, you just keep that pulse going and just go with it. Don't follow me or don't copy me, please. That's one way of doing it. Next time I play it, I might change the dynamics a little. Maybe the soft could be softer. I don't know. I might take it at a different speed. Who knows? I might do more with the natural accents. Who knows? Experiment, and you make it yours. Get into and feel the music. Get into it where the music is feelings. Don't just play notes. Computer can play notes. You get into it and make it feel something. Let's play this together slowly and check the notes and the rhythms. And I'm not going to do the louds and softs, just notes and rhythms. I'll do the accents and the staccatos. We'll do the whole thing, first and second ending. So I'll give us 4 counts, and we're going to go really slow. Well, slow for me. Now this is after you've learned it. Learn it first, because I put the starting point of the Play With Me section of this video in the description, so you can always come back to the video and go right to it when you're ready. 1 and 2 and ready and go and.